It starts off with kind of like an old, like calling back to like the moon landing, which this footage is fake. The moon landing was not, probably, but
right.
It says that this is in Creation Engine 2, which is something that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, is for the official second release of Bethesda's engine that they've been running and kind of modifying for years. So that's kind of exciting to see everything in engine. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, everything in this video is in engine as far as we've been told.
Yes. The first thing you hear is kind of a callback between Constellation and Starship Frontier. And so Constellation is seems like your ground control within the game. It seems like the main faction is Constellation. That seems like what you're a part of, kind of like Vault Tech, or like it seems like that is at least the beginner faction that you are kind of thrown into. Probably we can talk about Constellation in greater detail at a later time, but it seems like that they are giving you clearance to do a launch, and it is the Starship Frontier, which actually has a designation that I read, which is NG 1350. That means absolutely nothing to me, but I thought that was interesting that it had its own designation for the type of ship that it was. So my first question is, we're going to be remaining in contact with someone, it seems like, for these launches or whatever. I mean, they're just firing up engines. We don't actually see the ship go up. So, I mean, at least to turn on some engines. So like, are we going to be like maintaining contact with Constellation throughout the entire game? This is kind of like, I have a series of like theories and questions that I kind of want to ask you. Yeah. That's my first one.
Yeah. Well, Constellation seems to be the organization that you work for. And they seem to be the organization that is exploring the settled systems. That's a phrase they use a lot in these trailers, the settled systems. And it's their job to explore, to find the secrets. And they talk a lot about that as well. So I would assume that maybe they are some of the quest givers for a main storyline piece, that maybe there's something going on with that. So if we think back to something like Fallout 3, one of the main storyline bits is finding a solution to the water problem, right?
Right.
And you have this constant ongoing quest line to find a solution to the water problem. Well, maybe there's something going on with Constellation having to do with uncovering a very specific secret that has been hinted at, or something that has been lost, information that was uncovered about maybe an alien technology or something in the settled systems that we are trying to uncover. And so there might be somebody, at headquarters at Constellation that we continue in contact with.
Yes.
I think my guess is something like that.
You have to give the player something to set off with. Like, you have to give them kind of a purpose at the beginning. It's not, we talk about these open world games, but I mean, Skyrim starts with you're attacked by a dragon, and it's like, you got to go figure out this dragon situation. Like, that's what you got to go do.
Right. Right.
So I think that there will be something.
And it seems like you're a new member of Constellation. It seems like that they're kind of hinting at this idea of like, welcome aboard. You are a new member, this kind of thing. Right. So yes, that's kind of the sense I get.
So we move on, and we get a picture of the loading bay of the ship that has a number of different cargos kind of like strapped into the side of it. In the top left, it looks like there's a health station. So maybe that's one of the ways that you can heal in the game. In the back, they have two containers by this ladder. One is labeled an oxygen tank, but the other one is labeled blue dioxide. And I had no clue what blue dioxide was, but I just Googled blue dioxide. It turns out that it's just O2, dioxide. That's chemistry, basic stuff. But there's a such thing as blue carbon, which is essentially when humans like put off like CO2. That's what the greenhouse effect. That's all the stuff. That's kind of the thing that we're trying to prevent when it comes to climate change. When they put that stuff off, there's certain natural phenomena that happen that can collect and store it, particularly in the oceans. No idea what exactly I'm talking about. Oh,
so do you think that this is part of the ship's natural way of cycling carbon and oxygen?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think what you have over there is oxygen in like ready to use, and you have like oxygen that needs to be processed more.
So these are like carbon filters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, cool.
And then we see the infamous ladder climb, which is kind of the joke that that people have been tossing around for years, where you can't climb any ladders and you can't animate that in any Bethesda game. It just teleports you. And so we see the ladder climb, which I think is kind of funny.
Classic.
Next, we move into a meeting room that has a bunch of different stuff in it. And I'm going to talk about a few of the different places. So there's a planning table that is kind of like underlit. In the trailer, you can't, like if you're watching on a small screen, you can't really tell what exactly is lit up under there. But it's actually a map. It's not very detailed. It's not like there's a bunch of locations. It's more just like a topographic map that's in like black and white. Nothing labeled really outside of like maybe grids of where stuff may be. But there's a coffee cup that's situated on the side that you kind of see an NO, but if you like get with me in my 4K TV and really get up on it, it says Nova Galactic, which is one of the brands that you will see pretty much throughout the entire trailer. So there's also a little knob connected to this map table that looks like the leaked HUD that is kind of the circle with a few of the different like messages or like numbers that are tracking within it. We've talked in a previous episode about the leaked HUD on the side. That's kind of circular, I guess. So that could be a reference to that. The next thing that happens is the player lays down a space gun that's branded Combat Tech. So that's the brand of the gun. The name of the gun is called Grendel. This is I'm telling you, I'm going deep here.
Yeah.
It's a Grendel model gun. There's 24 bullets left in the chamber. There's kind of an interesting little like holographic display that looks like it's kind of like embedded. It's not like, Star Wars holographic. It's kind of like embedded within the gun itself. They lay down the gun and it kind of like powers off. You see a bunch of half-eaten food kind of laying around, and you see space food. Not just like there's like a sandwich and a coffee cup, but you see this thing labeled Chunks, which is the brand, and it's a baked potato that's been space wrapped.
Nice. Going back to Grendel real quick, that's obviously a reference to Beowulf.
It might be
Grendel, the monster from Beowulf, which I mean that's the only Grendel I know.
I think it's also just kind of a menacing name for a gun. Like if you had a gun named Grendel, you'd be like, yeah. I wonder if
Combat Tech names all of its guns after like classic literature monsters. That would be freaking cool. That would be really cool. Okay.
It seems like there is literature in this universe. It seems like it is like Skyrim, where there is literature abound. It's not like Fallout, where it's old computer readings and holotapes. It seems like that there are actual books, which we'll get to later on. Also laying on the table is a flight manual that has Nova Galactic training protocols and advanced orbital telemetry. What this leads me to believe, and there's other sightings of it, is the brand of the ship is Nova Galactic. The people that make this ship is the Nova Galactic Corporation. So it seems like that they are a ship manufacturer within the game, Nova Galactic.
Right.
This also, with the food and the different stuff, what do you think the resources will be? What do you think we have to track? So there's food lying about. There's obviously oxygen in some form or fashion. They've got 2 big oxygen pods, and a lot of Elder Scrolls and Fallout and the kind of stuff that they've been messing with has been that survival element as you go on of more bars to track. What do you think would make sense to track in a game like Starfield?
Yeah, well, so I have to wonder about this because, okay, so a few thoughts here. One, in most RPGs, tracking food and water like you do in, say, Fallout 76 is fine until it becomes a nuisance. One of the things they changed in Fallout 76 recently is they switched over it from being a deficit when it gets low to being a buff when it's high. Right? Because nobody wants to deal with like, crap, my stuff is low, now I have to deal with it again. It just keeps getting in the way of you having fun. So I can imagine that like having to deal with something like oxygen constantly running out while you're walking around places, that's a pain in the butt. Like nobody's going to want to deal with that unless it's very limited. Like there are, for example, very special locations you can get to that are uncharted and you have to have the right equipment to be able to get there. So it's a gated mechanic rather than a limitation mechanic. That I could see something like that happening. Or my second thought is with the anniversary edition of Skyrim coming out and the addition of survival mode for that, and also survival mode for Fallout 4, the option of a survival mechanic in Starfield being optional, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea that like you have to track these things and it's an optional mechanic. Otherwise, as long as you have the right kind of equipment and it's on you, then you can go to the place. And again, it's a gated thing. Like you get a spacesuit that equips you with the right O2 and you bring the right amount of food with you and you can go. That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I think that it's hard. I think that they have tested the limit of food and water with Fallout 76, and obviously people did not. That wasn't popular because they pretty much removed it. But I feel like that there could be some benefit to that. I feel like it's more likely to track oxygen than any other thing, because that's what you need to breathe. And that's a pretty easy meter. And if they have just like big tanks of it lying around, that's pretty easy to do. And it's like when you're on a starship, you don't need, like in any like space game, when you're on a starship, you don't need oxygen. But if you go outside on an unexplored planet outside of your little rover or whatever spaceship, like there's generally an oxygen meter of some sort that may not decrease so fast as like you can't run away for a little bit, but like you'll need to figure out a way to replenish that.
Or if it's like an encumbrance mechanic, or if it's if it's like a stamina mechanic where you can equip the ability for, like we were talking about with the like the carbon cycling. Like maybe it's not that you run out of oxygen. It's that you need to equip your suit with the ability to replenish the oxygen. So your suit actually has the technology to take the oxygen that you're breathing out or the carbon dioxide that you're breathing out and turn it back into oxygen, so that when you are exerting yourself by carrying more equipment or by running or by using your stamina, that it gives you more oxygen faster.
Mm-hmm. Like that makes sense.
That would make more sense, because now it's a limitation. It just how fast can you run, or how much can you carry, and how fast can you get your oxygen back.
That makes sense to me. The next thing that they show is a small storage cubby. They have a helmet that's been penetrated by like a small object, probably a bullet of some sort, and it says "Do not use." Has a little sticky note on it.
Yeah.
There's a few books there, and I have enlarged them. I've done like the enhance. And the first one is the Constellation Spacefarer's Guide, which shows the satellite from the teaser trailer. So we can assume that from the like original teaser trailer, when they showed that 10 years ago or whenever they did,
20 years ago,
right.
Yeah.
That space satellite was Constellation, the faction that's exploring the stars. So
that belongs to them. Yeah. Or is it a satellite at all? Is it even, maybe it's a larger thing. Maybe it's a space base or something.
It could be like their
we don't know
their
the
main
scale
hub. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's big. I mean, in the trailer, it looks big, and they have these big flaps that fly about on it. So could be. The other books that are there are a book called Omega by Flammarion. And that's not a Pokemon. That's just the name of the author. It
sounds like an Elder Scrolls. It sounds like a I don't know, a high elf, right?
Yeah. And the next one is Sailing Alone Around the World by Captain Joshua Graham.
Is this a real person?
Joshua Graham is the name of the Old Caesar's Legion mummified dude that's in. He's not mummified, just has burns.
Yeah. Yes. So
that could be an Easter egg for because he's supposed to be a missionary in the before anything.
No, this is a Fallout reference. Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking real world stuff, but you're right. This is a Fallout reference.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of cool to see. But somebody named Captain Joshua Graham. The next thing is there's a container that if you read the fine text, it says that it's owned by Constellation, and it contains a Chronomark Life Pack Intel link. And I have I have done some searching onto what a Chronomark LifePack Intellink is. Mm-hmm. That is a watch. If you look at some of the concept art that's been out there, on the back of the watch and like the interior of it, it says Chronomark in it. What I think this is when you join Constellation, they give you a package that has your watch in it. And the watch is your HUD. Essentially, it's like your Pip-Boy. So this is like the container for the Pip-Boy. And in the narrator's dialogue, they show this and they say, you're part of Constellation now, part of our family. Nice. Which I think is pretty cool that they have like, it's kind of like a Pip-Boy, essentially. Everybody gets like their little watch. It's probably, you know, bigger, does more stuff than a Pip-Boy would for that screen, but it's
right. Like you actually zoom, like if you look at it, it zooms in, you know, like enlarges. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's basically your Pip-Boy. Moving
on, we've got a wall with a concert poster for Alyssa DeMille that's playing the violin, which is probably a red herring. Surrounding it are pictures of the wide set robot that is in some concept art and is also in the trailer. There's nothing, it looks like there's selfies of the robot on various nondescript planets. But there's multiple stickers surrounding this area. And I'm going to read off some of the names on these stickers. The first one we have is a spaceship that says Astro Dynamics.
So maybe a different spaceship company?
Could be. It could be a science group. The next one is a series of planets, and it says the 10th planet. Mm-hmm. So I know in our solar system, there's 9 planets, right? So maybe in Starfield, they discover a 10th planet for...
Right. Or it's just kind of a fun ongoing myth. And so the 10th planet is like a diner or a rock band. Or...
This Costco's so big, it's 10th planet.
Right. Yeah, a bulk supermarket. Yeah.
There's a sticker that says Ranger on it that has a star. That's probably like a space cowboy situation, like, you know, Frontier's Lone Ranger. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want to fly, come and take a ride with the cowboys. Yippee-yi-yay, yippee-yi-yo.
Sure. Okay.
Next one is the Livingstone Project.
Livingstone.
I have some of these I have no clue, but I'm reading them off because I spent the time to go through them.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if anybody else has any thoughts on any of these, please let us know. Send us some tweets or jump on the Robots Radio Discord and let us know your thoughts.
Next is the Farrier 4 expedition.
Okay. This, I wonder if this ties into some of the like secrets, like, for example, expeditions that disappeared and they're trying to uncover what happened to them, things like that.
Could be. Mm-hmm. Next, we've got a star that says the New Age Revolution. Okay. So that could be a political situation.
Or just another band. These are all just rock bands. These are all this person's favorite bands. That's what these are.
The most interesting one, though, and the one that is like the most like, holy crap, is indecipherable. It's indecipherable what exactly it says. I'm pretty sure if you could like enhance it, it was very hard to read. But it is a snake circling a globe. And it is identical to a logo in Fallout 76 that is in the Sugar Grove station. And so it is the logo of the Sugar Grove signet. And so let me read you a little bit about the Sugar Grove signet. If you're probably familiar with the situation, but let me read it for people who aren't. So as a signals intelligence division, Sugar Grove was tasked with monitoring internal as well as incoming and outgoing signal traffic in the Appalachia area. These tasks included interpreting communications between miners in Appalachia for seditious sentiments, complex investigations of money trails for Chinese connections, and as the situation in Appalachia escalated following the increase of the automation and the Free State secession, investigating strikers for the communist connections and keeping tabs on secessionists. The Free Staters were considered to be a minor problem as long as they stayed in their bunkers. All collected intelligence was documented and deposited in the facility's vast archival system. Their saying, I suppose, is Audi Vidi Tasse, which is Latin for see, hear, and be silent. So I would imagine that this would be just not Sugar Grove signet, but this would be, or SIGINT. This would just be SIGINT, which is the Signals Intelligence Division of the United States Navy.
Interesting. Huh.
So I bet you, and we'll get back to you next time in the episode, or you can write in with some of your theories, that typically in Bethesda games, they leave little Easter eggs for what they're working on next. Of like, there was a signal for the Greenbrier in Fallout 4. There was, what was it? There was other stuff in other games. I'm blanking here. But each one, they kind of leave a little tidbit. And I bet you that in the secret, like they have like multiple different secret projects that are within this bunker that you discover over time. I bet you there is some reference to Starfield that may give us deeper clues as to maybe some of the details on the game.
Yeah, in Fallout 76 even. That's it. That's really interesting. Wow.